After you defeat all the gym leaders, collect all the gym badges, you set your sights on the ultimate challenge, the Elite Four. However, some of the Elite Four aren't always so challenging. As a matter of fact, some of them just aren't challenging at all. I mean, these guys are supposed to be the best of the best, but some of them just fall short of the mark. But which Elite Four members are the worst in battle? With so many Elite Four members to choose from, there's no way I could have done this by myself. That's right, my special guest, Tamashi Hiroka, who's also a huge Pokemon fan that's been doing Pokemon videos for years on YouTube, is here to help me count down the worst Elite Four members. I'm going to be listing off my top 5 worst, and she's going to be listing off her top 5 worst. So, without further ado, let's get it started. I'm starting off my worst Elite Four picks with Chantal from Pokemon Black and White. She's a bookworm who always enjoys reading a good novel, like 50 Shades of Pokemon Gray, since, you know, she's in Pokemon Black and White. Gray. Oh, never mind. The Elite Four in Pokemon Black and White were some of the strongest members we'd seen in a while. However, Chantal just didn't seem to fit in with the difficulty of the other 3 members. She specializes in Ghost-type Pokemon, much like Agatha did in the first generation. But with Dark-type Pokemon like Crocodile on your team, you had nothing to worry about in this battle. Literally, all you had to do was spam Crunch, or any other powerful Dark-type move, and you would sweep her entire team very quickly. At least Agatha had a little diversity with poison types like Arbok on her team. That way they weren't all ghost types. That made her more of a challenge compared to Chantal. Plus, Agatha lives with graves in her room. Now that's hardcore. And Chantal? She probably lives with her collection of Twilight books.
Number 5. Will. My pick for number 5, Will, has a lot going for him. He has a cool outfit, he's the first ever to represent Psychic types in the Elite Four, and he's got purple hair. But considering he's repping Psychic types in Gen 2, the ones he ended up with are a little disappointing. He has mostly Gen 1 Pokemon on his team, and the Gen 2 Pokemon he has is just Xatu twice. He could have at least tried out an Espeon or something. But instead, he's left with Pokemon we've seen before. Considering he's the first member of the Johto Elite Four, he doesn't really leave you with much new to remember him by. His sprite is almost just a recolor of Lorelei's, the first member of the Gen 1 Elite Four, and he even has a Slowbro and a Jinx like her too. Will just kinda seems like they were in a hurry, so they gave Lorelei a different name and switched up as few party members as they could get away with to give the team a new typing. Not a great first impression.
In Generation 3, Sydney is the first member of the Hoenn Elite Four. He's an upbeat person who enjoys what he does, even if he loses. He uses a team of Dark-type Pokemon. In the original games, his team was okay, but in the remake of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, with the introduction of Fairy types, Sydney became a total pushover, especially with Mega Evolution. All you really need is any Fairy-type Pokemon on your team that can Mega Evolve and knows Moonblast, and the battle would be over in a matter of minutes. You would have thought that they would have mixed up his team a little bit more to compensate for the new Fairy type. Instead, he became one of the easiest Elite Four members of all time.
Number 4. Bertha. Bertha, the Gen 4 Ground-type Elite Four member, actually has a lot of Pokemon I like on her team. Hippowdon, Sudowoodo, Quagsire, that other water ground type, but her real crime, repetitive typings aside, is just that she isn't very memorable. Elite Four members have a really short time to leave a lasting impression, which means that what little we have to go off of counts way more than it would for most any other NPC. From appearance to dialogue to party members, each aspect has to wow us for them to stick out in our minds, or else we'll move on and forget we even battled them. Unfortunately for Bertha, it feels like her sprite was copy-pasted from Agatha, and her dialogue was copy-pasted from Karen, which doesn't leave much room for her to stand out on her own. With just her ragtag team of ground types to rely on for staying power, she ends up getting washed out in the sandstorm.
Going back to the beginning, the very first Elite Four member we ever faced was Lorelei. She's a master of the Ice-type Pokemon, but the problem with her team was that she had mostly part Water types, which led to her having a huge disadvantage against Electric-type Pokemon. Because of this, anyone with a Raichu or a Jolteon could easily sweep all of her team, except for Jinx. At that point, all you'd need is a Fire-type to take it out. At least after the Sevi Islands, they gave her a Piloswine to make her a little tougher, but that still doesn't help her too much, as she still has way too many part Water types on her team.
Number 3. Glacia. The Gen 3 Elite Four is one of my favorites. They're stylish, they're edgy, and Glacia is no exception. My only issue with her is the fact that while her colleagues might have a repeating species here and there, Glacia only has 2 species of Pokemon at all, the Snow Right line and the Spheal line. which doesn't make for an exceptionally interesting battle. I realized that there weren't many ice types in Gen 3 to pick from, but maybe at that point they should have realized having an ice type Elite 4 member when you only had 2 ice types in your regional decks was a bad idea, and just picked a different type and built a more interesting team for her. Even if they had gone with grass type, she would have had more variety. Glacia might have looks and charm, but an interesting team she does not.
Flint from Gen 4 is a Fire-type master who looks like Ronald McDonald's long-lost cousin. Being a Fire-type master, you'd think he uses nothing but Fire types, right? Well, not in Diamond and Pearl. In those games he had a bit more variety on his team, with a Steelix, Lopunny, and a Driftbloom, which made him pretty challenging. However, in Pokemon Platinum, they nerfed him to the ground, giving him all Fire types to battle with, leaving his team totally weak to any Water type with Surf. It's like he went from being a Big Mac to a Hot and Spicy. It's just not as satisfying. Whoever thought this was a good idea really needs to be fired.
Number 2, Bruno. Bruno, unlike most Elite 4 members, got a second chance to prove himself. As a member of both the Gen 1 and Gen 2 Elite 4, he has twice as many lines and battles as any other Elite 4 member. And how does he use this precious extra chance for an impression? By saying basically the same thing both times and being the shortest and easiest battle in both of his Elite 4 lineups. Bruno, Bruno, Bruno. Most Elite 4 members would kill for the screen time you got, and you squandered it.
And my number 1 pick for the worst Elite 4 member is Malva. Everyone should have seen this one coming. The Pokemon X and Y Elite 4 were by far the easiest to beat, especially for someone with an all-Fire type team like this. Her entire team can be knocked out by a good Water type with Surf, even without Mega Evolution. Now if that isn't easy, I don't know what is. This is the same problem that all Fire type trainers have. It reminds me so much of how easy Blind was in Pokemon Red and Blue, but this is an Elite 4 member. They're supposed to be a challenge, not pushovers. These people aren't elite at all, and they don't deserve to be there. I hope that in the next new Pokemon game they bring back the challenge, because I was very disappointed with how easy all the Kalos Elite 4 were. All of them really deserve to be on this list. But at the end of the day, Malva to me is the weakest Elite 4 member.